So tell me, if you will, like what your thoughts were when I first invited you to take the course.
I was just excited. I knew I could feel the frequency, I could feel the energy, and I was excited to be a part of it without really knowing. I mean, I know a little bit about, obviously, I know you, obviously, I know a little bit about the Orrin and DeBen energy. I've done a lot of their programs, but I've never done anything like this where it's like this type of level of guided energy work like this. So, I was very excited.
Okay. And then, so how did you feel like as you started to progress through the course?
I felt, well, so many things. I mean, so many things. There was a lot of ahas. For me, everything spiritually happens for me in pulses and then like contraction pulses. And so I felt a lot of that where it was like kind of busting through to new realms and then sort of like, oh, here I am in my ordinary life. And then like big expansion, and lots of ahas and lots of experiences and also lots of manifestation. So it was spiritual awakenings and grounded physical manifestations, which I love. Who
Yeah.
doesn't love that, right?
Yeah. So share one of your big ahas, if you can remember.
Okay. I just remember that I was visiting my family. I was doing the homework of listening to um one of the recordings where we're going back in your history and like kind of reclaiming your power of like where you I don't remember exactly how it was. Darn it, I should have written that down because it was huge.
Like an age regression.
Yeah, it was one of those going back and age regret. Yeah, that was it. It was really about, okay, what I'm getting right now is that I'm born into a family of intellectuals. And my sister was an Ivy League. My brother is like a professor now. He's still a professor at one of the best universities. And I was always the cute and pretty one growing up. And I was never as smart. I never got straight A's in school. I never competed in that level intellectually. And my guides kept telling me it's time to write a book. And so I was writing, but I was always judging my intellectual prowess, if I'm good enough, if I'm intellectual enough, if I'm smart enough. And my sister actually is a writer also. We write totally different things. We're in totally different worlds. But she recently got her book published. And even though that opened the door for me of possibility, it also intimidated me and made me feel like, who am I to be a writer, and so I was just dealing with that, like the shroud of not feeling smart enough. And so I remember I was staying at her house when I started to reprogram that, like what is possible, reprogramming that belief system. And I don't remember exactly what the energy work we were doing in the class or what that exact session was, but it lifted that. It lifted all of that to like just trusting in my guides. It wasn't even my intellect writing the book. It was just my guides coming through, and it was just information. And like I got out of the way both, like did the ego keeping me small and the ego like thinking it was them, that it was me doing it. So that was the one of the biggest ahas. There were plenty. That's the one's coming forward for me right now, even though I should have written it down. But that was kind of the idea of it, is like just being able to like clear the past, clear that history, clear that old story about myself and the whole like idea of who I am and redefining it.
Yeah. And so you were writing a book while you were taking this course. This is not the first book that you wrote. You wrote another book, like what, 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Something like that. And that one just kind of is still hanging out, but not moving. But through the course, what happened with the book?
Yeah, so this was a big part of the course for me was, yeah, writing this, having that aha, and then letting the material come through, and then just trusting that like it's gonna be published. And I was just sharing this today in my manifestation course too, like I've always known I'm going to be a published, like I always known I'm going to have a book. I always have that feeling like I'm going to have, you guys know, if you have a calling for a book, like you've always known it. So that first book I wrote, like I really did feel like I have a calling. But I was pushing, and obviously wasn't the right time, and it wasn't the right material either that I was writing about. But I was pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, never got published, just rejection after rejection after rejection. And somebody said to me, like, if you publish this, you'll be embarrassed. And like, I told other people that, and they're like, why would you ever listen to that? And I was like, because it's actually true. Like, it wasn't one of those things where she was like saying it like to push me down. It was actually like, it rang true to my soul, my first book. So this one though, I was like, and it took, and you're talking a period of like 10 years. I sent it out to publishers, like sent it out. No, rejection, rejection, rejection. This one, it was like, I wrote it and I just sent it out. It was so simple. I was like, I just wasn't even, it was just, I knew it was coming and I just sent it out. And anytime I got a rejection, I didn't even look at it. I was like, oh, that's not the right one. That's not the right one. And it was literally so fast. Someone was like, yeah, we want that. I mean, there was a lot more to it than that. I was guided to, I was having this obsession with NDEs, and for no reason, just like all of a sudden I'm studying everybody's near-death experiences. I'm having obsessions with it. And I decided I'm going to do a series interviewing people who had NDEs. So I meet this one guy, he's telling me about his NDE, and he like has a book published. And then he started talking about, we just connected. And anyways, he was the one, his publisher, he's the one who connected me to publishers. Okay. So because I had this idea that I was into near-death experiences, and then like after I did his interview, the series like ended. It was only him. And then like a couple months later, I was like, why did I do that? Like, why was I so obsessed with NDEs? And then I was like, oh my God, it was the publisher. Like that was what it took, like to get to this place. So the magic of how it all came to be, without even really doing anything except for the energy work. And then of course, like the book really did feel like it wrote itself. So it's just like, and then the publisher came itself. After you're talking a full decade of like trying to get a different book published, this book came through in like a matter of months. Like it wasn't, the other book took years to write, 10 years to look for a publisher, years to write. This was just like done, like complete. And then also it had to do with the fact that my clients have been asking me for this. So and a lot of it was for my clients. So they're like, can you please write this out? I don't understand it. So a lot of it was already written for them. And that always, for me as a projector, that's always, stuff that's going to happen easily as well. So there was just everything that kind of led this. But doing this class and doing this work, whenever we went into the place where when you were like, okay, now visualize something happening or whatever, then I would just like see it so easily manifesting. And like, that's the work I did. I did the work through the energy, and then everything else was like so easy,
Yeah. And that is one of the things that they sort of promise. They don't really promise, but like they speak about it, like that when you get into this energy work and you're doing the energy work of manifesting, it takes away 90% of the 3D work that you have to do. Like it frees up the time and frees up the looking and the searching and the waiting and the pushing, because all of those other things come in. Yeah. So that's awesome. All right. So let's see. What would you tell people that were on the fence about taking this course? They really want to, but they have some reason why maybe they're hesitant.
So here's what I'll say. There's so many things that are important about being one in the group energy. And even though your class was like the same time and the same day as my teaching, I always listened to it, the recording. I was still being held in the group energy. And so even if you can't make it live, like so I was still being held in the group, but the fact is I was also being committed. I committed and you committed. So it was like, so you're committing to the experience and to the group. And there's nothing like that really, because you can do it on your own, but you don't get that support. And then I also noticed that when I do something on my own, I'm far less like willing to show up on a regular basis. So it's so easy with miracles. You guys will notice if you have a miracle, like even when I had that huge aha moment, I couldn't remember exactly what happened. It's because we forget the miracles and we just go back to, our day to day, but we remember like the most horrible things. It's part of human nature. So it's so easy to talk yourself out of going into the energy of the miracle or going into the light work. It's so easy to be like, oh, I got to do this, or I got to watch TV, or I got to whatever, like so many excuses. It's really, really hard. Even for me now, just thinking back on it, I'm like, oh, I should do it again, because the support is so important. It forces you and it gives you what you need, the accountability to show up for yourself, because this is what you have to do. You have to do the energy work for things to manifest. You have to go through there. And what we miss is the dedication or the discipline to actually get there because of our ordinary life. So like I would just tell people that the support is unbelievable, and this is what your soul is longing for. Your soul is longing for this, but your mind is usually in resistance to showing up. And so to get the support is really so important.
That was awesome. Thank you for that. That was great. What about your psychic gifts and your sort of like divine gifts, that sort of thing? Have those improved from the energy work of the course?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, the psychic gifts are really interesting because and we all probably know this, is they're always there. So it's really almost like my answer is the same thing. It's like they're always there, but they're just clouded with life, And so when you give yourself time to be present with that frequency, it's like you get to be with all of those gifts. So they're more common in your life, they're more frequent, it's just like allowing yourself to be in that place of the magic all the time, as opposed to covering it up with the day-to-day grind and the day-to-day stuff, minutia, problems, worries, like children, whatever. Not that I have children, but you know what I mean, like just the day-to-day stuff is
Yeah.
keeps you out of your gifts. So for me, it's like that's what turned my gifts back on. They are always there, but they're like clouded by life. And this allows you to be with your gifts.
Yeah.
That's my
Awesome.
experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good explanation. We've known each other for a long time now, and you've always been on this spiritual path. You've always been sort of you know how to meditate, you know how to do ceremony, you know how to do manifestation, all of that stuff. How does, because you're already sort of like intermediate advanced, or you were intermediate advanced when you began, how does this complement everything that you've already had or gone through?
Well, it's funny. It's like, just with all spiritual work, everything happens in layers. So, and we're always processing and always, stepping into our next layer. So I do feel like this, writing a book and getting a book published was my next layer and level for my business and for my personal professional career. And I do think that showing up energetically and doing this work was, whether that was going to like, it's hard to know. It helps to, um, I guess you can kind of look at it in the same way as like going to the gym. Like, we all need to keep working out. No matter how much I went to the gym when I was in my 20s, like I have to show up and go to the gym again. And like, how fun is it to go to the gym with a group of people that are like making it, easy and fun and beautiful for you? So I feel like, even though, yes, I've been on a spiritual path for many, 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 many years. I don't want to age myself, but it's been a long time. And I do show up for myself. Obviously, I do meditate, I do my practice. It really helped to have someone else kind of hold for me, because I'm holding for my clients all the time. So it was really nice to have someone hold for me, where I could just show up and just be like, okay, this is my space to get held for and to do my spiritual practice. And also, I hadn't done this Orrin and DeBen in a really long time. They're very, very powerful as well to have that energy integrated. And so, but I do also have to say, by having you as a guide, it deepened that experience for me, because I don't get Orrin and DeBen in the same way when I do it on my own, as when I did it with you, because the way you explained it and the way you hold for it, it's in the same way as when I teach human design. Like, people get it in a new way because it's how it's passed down. It's like
Yeah.
you're passing it down through the transmission. And so it was like just a new safe container. It was really, really powerful. As a matter of fact, like I said, I do feel like I could do it again, because I am lazy. I got to be honest, I'm busy and I forget, and I'm lazy. So I can easily stop myself from doing as much energy work as I should.
Yeah.
So just that alone is like worth it, just to have someone hold for you, and to like the inspiration, motivation to show up in the depth of the energy work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. You're out of, I think I've spoken to like 3 of the students, and each one is like, I want to do it again. I want to do it again. I want to
Well,
start over at
because
the
we've had
beginning.
enough time, I think, without it, to realize like, oh, it was so great to have that level of support. Yeah. Like, you're really so beautiful as a teacher and really good at holding for people and explaining, and committing, helping people to commit to the journey. Like, I really, really felt that support and that container. And so yeah, it's a really beautiful experience. So highly, highly recommend it.
Thank you so much. That's lovely. Thanks so much.
You're so welcome.
Awesome.